I'd say the worst job I've ever had was mowing lawns with a buddy of mine. See, he'd been working for his uncle for 2 or 3 years at this point, and so he asked me, "Hey, do you want to come out and help? Do you want to join us?" And so his uncle picks me up, we go out, and it was just, I don't like mowing lawns to begin with. And I remember that being at like 11 years old, I wasn't paid very much. I don't remember exactly how much, but I do remember his uncle taking us to Sonic that night. And after I had gotten dinner, I had about $3 left in my pocket. At that point, I knew mowing lawns was probably not for me. But the worst job I've ever had career wise was working for a healthcare staffing company. I was a physician recruiter. Now, the company itself was great. I was in love with the culture. I even went on 2 different medical mission trips to Guatemala to the point where our CEO of this whole multi-billion dollar, million dollar company was there going to Guatemala, boots on the ground, in the trenches with us. I was in love with this culture. I could get behind the culture. But the job itself, like, it was life draining. At least for me it was. It was just dial after dial. And most of the time it just ended in these blanket voicemails, and or someone would pick up and it was just someone disgruntled on the other side just telling us to remove them from a call list. Like, it was draining. It was incredibly unfulfilling. I remember just praying every day that God would just help me get through the day. And my wife actually, in conversation, said, "I want you to change your prayer. I want you to pray, Lord, please allow that the people I speak with today, that they would find favor on me." And yeah, this helped a little bit. And I did stay with that company for over 4 years. I ended up transferring departments and became an RPO supervisor. Yet after a while and a little over a year and a half in that position, the company had layoffs and they laid our entire division off. In the long run, I stayed because I was in love with the culture of that company. But the culture didn't love me back. It wouldn't save me from the layoffs. But hey, it'd been 4 years. And that was long enough for me to realize that recruiting and healthcare staffing wasn't the type of job for me. And to be honest, I was just miserable in it. A 2023 study by Gallup found that over half of America's workforce feel like they aren't engaged in their work, or even worse, they're unhappy with their employment. Even more alarming is that almost 20% of people of the active workforce are actively disengaged. I mean, they're really pretty miserable. And that was me. Actively disengaged, miserable, which led me to feel pretty disengaged in many other areas of my life. I mean, that was not what I thought I would be doing for the rest of my life. Granted, I wasn't actually sure yet what I wanted to do or what I was supposed to do. But I did go to college. I mean, I was told at least to get a degree. But it was a wise move. I majored in communication with an emphasis in media. It was fun, but it didn't exactly translate into the things I'd like to do or what I wanted to do in the real world. The one thing I did find out about the job in healthcare staffing was that I did enjoy healthcare. I enjoyed the field of healthcare. And I figured I really wanted to go somewhere in the field. If I wanted to go somewhere in the field, I needed to further my education. So I obtained a master's degree in healthcare administration. Think of an MBA, except it's geared towards, more specifically, towards healthcare. So why the shift in a new career path again, where we're on this path at MACU to become counselors? Well, that's a long story that would take longer than 5 minutes to get through. But it is a testament to God's sense of humor, honestly. And it was me finally waking up, recognizing and wanting to use the gifts God had given me for His will and not mine. See, for me, the biggest change in me, it was, how do I define success? In the book Emotionally Healthy Leader, author Peter Scazzero says, How could there possibly be one cookie cutter definition of success in so many diverse circumstances? And yet, that is the standard we too often apply when we use only external markers to define and measure success. What you need to remember is that it is your unique situation and God's will for it that will define what God considers success. The challenge every leader and team must face is undertaking the slow and painstaking discernment to identify precisely what that is for you at any given point in time. Success for me was to follow and live in God's will no matter the cost. One question, if I were to go back and I would talk to somebody who'd been into a position for 40 years, this life-taking, miserable position for 40 years, I would ask them that they need to go and consider, both personally and with their significant other, how do you want the rest of your career life to be defined? If they had to work the worst job for 40 years, if they had worked this job for 40 years, then odds are they're in their 50s or 60s. And at this point in their career, how does making a change for their future affect their retirement, their family future, etc.? It also may warrant asking them if they could go ahead and retire from this position but begin a new career path in a position that aligns more with their own passions and desires. See, as a counselor, I might ask a question similar to, I'm wondering what the rest of your life might look like if you changed careers to something that aligns with your passion. That's the question I want you to take and ponder on.